Bill, I raised the issue about the DHB public consultation requirements. The House will recall that the Select Committee's view was that the bill will likely weaken the consultation element of the Act being amended. In essence, the core objection we had to the bill was directly related to the treaty clause in the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Amendment Act, which we see of crucial importance. A treaty clause is also included in Crown funding agreements with DHBs. While there is a standardised treaty clause, some differ depending on the agreement with the provider. The general thrust of the treaty clause is to state, and I quote, "The DHB has a responsibility to assist the Crown in fulfilling its obligations under the Treaty of Waitangi and is guided in that responsibility by the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Amendment Act and other policy directions from the Crown. The Act requires DHBs to take active steps to reduce health disparities by improving health outcomes for Māori." For all those prone to anxiety about how symbolic intent translates into implementation, let me assure the House that the strength of the principal bill is that it does provide specific and pragmatic assurances around how these obligations can be fulfilled. For example, in the Crown funding agreements with DHBs, it states, DHBs must establish and maintain processes to enable Māori to participate in and contribute to strategies for Māori health improvement. This recognises and respects the principles of the treaty. References to the treaty and the principles of partnership, participation and protection in DHB accountability documents and agreements between the Minister and the Crown derive from and should therefore be understood in this context. I want to be really clear about just how important this treaty framework is for all providers to understand how to enact the founding document of our nation. A treaty clause is used in Ministry of Health contracts with providers primarily to fulfil and comply with Section 4 of the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Act 2000. The Act recognises the importance of the treaty relationship in facilitating Māori involvement in Māori health provision and outcomes. And for the record, I want to remind us all of the wording of Section 4 of the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Act 2000, which has become a benchmark for how we can truly respect and adhere to the aspirations of all our ancestors had when they signed up in 1840. In order to recognise and respect the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi, and with a view to improving health outcomes for Māori, Part 3 provides for mechanisms to enable Māori to contribute to decision-making on and to participate in the delivery of health and disability services. This then is a vital reference point for the bill as an entirety, and of course specifically in relation to the concerns that I have raised with the House previously around consultation. And I want to pay credit to my colleague, the Honourable Tariana Turia, for the leadership she demonstrated back in 2002 with the introduction of He Kora Wai Oranga, the Māori Health Strategy. That strategy says outright that the government is committed to fulfilling the special relationship between iwi and the Crown under the Treaty of Waitangi. It goes further to outline how the principles of partnership, participation and protection derived from the Royal Commission on Social Policy will continue to underpin that relationship and are threaded throughout He Kora Wai Oranga. Partnership will be demonstrated in working together with iwi, hapu, whānau and Māori communities to develop strategies for Māori health gain and appropriate health and disability services. Participation will be illustrated in involving Māori at all levels of the sector in decision-making, planning, development and delivery of health and disability services. And protection will be evident as a priority when the sector collaborates and cooperates to ensure Māori have at least the same level of health as non-Māori, and safeguarding Māori cultural concepts, values and practices. Mr Speaker, this foundation that I have laid out today is critical to understanding why we have raised concerns around the vital need to enhance and articulate the detail around consultation. An overarching aim of the health and disability sector is the improvement of health outcomes and reduction of health inequalities for Māori. How else are we to do this than with the active involvement of whānau, hapu and iwi? We in the Māori Party want to see the active involvement of mana whenua to facilitate Māori access to services, provision of appropriate pathways of care which might include, but are not limited to, matters such as referrals and discharge planning, ensuring that the services are culturally competent and that services are provided that meet the health needs of Māori. It is expected that there will be Māori participation in the decision-making around and delivery of the service. Mr Speaker, when I spoke to this bill at the second reading, I raised my concerns coming from the Select Committee's view that the bill will likely weaken the consultation element of the Act. Presently, the Act requires the same standard of consultation as Section 83 of the Local Government Act 2002. The bill would require consultation, but the standard of consultation is not defined. When I spoke, I said that worried us, and it continues to worry us. The local body elections over a week ago have provided even further reason why we need to be vigilant over the issues of representation and participation of Māori in the health sector. What we saw around the country was that Māori were unfairly, inequitably and disproportionately underrepresented on elected councils, including district health boards. Section 29(4) of the Public Health and Disability Act 2000 requires the Minister to ensure that Māori membership of the board is proportional to the number of Māori in the DHB's resident population and that there are at least 2 members on the board. And yet, all our experience tells us that despite the legislative measures in place, anecdotal evidence is that there are still far too many DHBs which fail to meet even these most minimum of requirements. So we want to be absolutely sure that we have every base covered, that we maintain a determined resolve to ensure Māori membership of the DHBs is both proportional to its Māori population and at least a minimum of 2. And we will be insisting that robust and comprehensive consultation processes are in place to enable Māori to contribute to decision making on and to participate in the delivery of health and disability services. Finally, I would not want to leave the impression that it was only DHBs where Māori representation was an issue, and I'd refer the House to the report to the Minister of Local Government on the review of the Local Government Act 2002 and the Local Electoral Act 2001, Special Topic Paper Representation, February 2008. In this paper, it reveals that in Wellington and Dunedin, only 1% of the members in local councils are Māori, and in Blenheim there are none. Clearly, there is a much bigger picture around Māori participation and representation, an issue that we want to fully canvass in the upcoming constitutional review. We will support this bill at its third and final reading, but we will be looking to the Minister to provide us with more confidence around the capacity of DHBs to consult and to fully involve mana whenua.
I call Nikki Wagner.